Mr. Rogers, do you think that the one God is tripersonal?
Yes, but in our debate, we're focused on Jesus.
Yeah. So do you think that Jesus is tripersonal?
No.
Okay, so there's a simultaneous difference between the one God and Jesus, namely that
Depends how
Jesus
you're
is not
using.
tripersonal and God is tripersonal.
The question in our debate is whether Jesus is God. And by God, I mean that he bears the divine name, has divine essence and nature, has divine attributes, exercises divine prerogatives, all of which I've already proven on the basis of explicit Markan statements.
Let me get clarification here. Are you saying not that Jesus just is the one God, like they're one and the same, but you're saying that Jesus is very closely related to the one God, like they
What
share
I'm
the same
saying is that
essence?
Jesus is the fullness of deity in the flesh. To
So
use
when you
Paul's
say Jesus is the
terminology,
one God, you just mean that Jesus is divine and not merely human.
I mean that Jesus is by essence all that his Father is.
Right. You don't mean that he's the Trinity, so you don't really mean that he's the one God.
All three persons share that same divine essence. If you want to be philosophical, I believe that all three persons are numerically identical to the divine essence, but numerically distinct from each other as to their personhood. I don't conflate being and personhood.
Okay, so you define the Trinity as implying an obvious bunch of contradictions, because if they're identical to the same thing, they're identical to each other. That's just how identity works.
No.
So you think one and the same God can be tripersonal and not?
Yeah, Dale, welcome to
One and the
Orthodox
same God can be
Christianity.
Father and
The
not?
church The church has been confessing this for 20 centuries now.
Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, so when you say Jesus is God,
But
you
let's
don't
get
mean
to
that he just
Mark.
is the one God. You mean that he has a divine nature. I take it that's your meaning, following the creeds.
I gave you my meaning. You don't have to, swap words out.
That he's
The Lord,
identical to the divine nature, the divine essence, and so is the
he
Father.
is he is the Lord. Mark 1:3, Mark 2:28, Mark 5:19, Mark 11:3. He is the Lord.
He just
Mark
is
does
the Lord,
not
and the Father just is the Lord too, right?
Mark does not present these two things as problematic, that you see as problematic. Mark has no problem
This isn't
presenting both
philosophical,
persons
by the way.
as
This is
Lord.
just what the heck the actual thesis is that you're arguing for. You say that Jesus, a minute ago, you just said that Jesus just is the divine essence. And you also say that so are the other persons. So the Father just is the divine essence. Okay, but things
Right.
identical to the same thing are identical to one another. So it follows that Jesus just is the
But
Father and
you're,
can't differ from
you
the
know,
Father in any way.
what follows
That's
is that
just
you're not
the
following
transitivity of
all of what
identity.
I said. You're trying to derive a contradiction from half of what I said and then inserting the other half that you just make up. I didn't
The
simply
other half
say
doesn't
that
help
they
any.
were
Once you get
identical.
contradictions, you
I
get them.
said the persons are numerically identical as to their essence, numerically distinct as to their personhood. And so it's irrelevant for you to say things that are numerically identical to each other are just the same thing. They are one as to their essence, distinct as to their personhood. The
Are you
Son is
endorsing a
not the
theory of
Father
divine?
as to his
Are you
personhood.
endorsing relative
What?
identity theory so that like Jesus and the
No, I'm
Father are
not.
the same
I'm
being but
I'm
different
I'm
persons?
advocating orthodox Trinitarianism, which precedes all of your philosophical mumbo jumbo. Mark simply identifies Jesus as the Lord, and that's what I'm defending in this debate.